All right, what is going on, guys? It's Spartan D here, and we are playing Alice Fiction. We are in the closed beta testing for this, and I've been playing since it launched about 12 hours ago or so, and it's been pretty good. This is a great experience. The combat took some getting used to, but it's incredibly fun. It's very rewarding. Once the more that you get into it, the better it ends up getting, at least for me. So when you start out, let me just say that this is going to look a lot different on your screen than it will, mine currently. For starters, next to where the normal missions are, there'll be newbie missions. I've already done them. There are 3 sets of the newbie missions that you do, and you basically just go through the main story here. So like, you essentially go through all the chapters here. You finish all of the chapters. You do some of the resource quests here. You can see that I pretty much did both of them except this one here, which I was saving. You go on underground, and then you do that once. You see I already did it one time. And then you also go into the arena and you fight one time, which I've also done. And I'll get more into arena in a bit, but I'm just going through everything that you'll end up having to do. So this again will also look different. You won't have this all of these available. You only have the first one. And then basically what it'll end up doing is, searching the memory for you that you can then use here when you go to the party tab on the bottom left. Go to world memory, and you just head over to this one. You also have memories that you can go ahead and enhance, same as any other game. It's very reminiscent of Princess Connect to me, and the reason I say that is because of how the system itself is set up, which is pretty nice. It's actually really well orchestrated. So here I've already got my Musashi to grade 4. This is the highest that you can take her, because you can only go up to chapter 3 in a closed beta testing. And you can see here, these will be unlocked as you go throughout the story. You have your skills. These first 2 right here are the skills that you'll have unlocked. Crash skill is basically when you go into combat. When you first start, they'll explain it. And what you essentially do is you match up 3 panels that's akin to whatever color that this character is aligned to. And then it'll enable you to then use this ability once you match 3, and then you press the skill, because it'll combine into the skill ability that you then have to press in order to activate. And these are active skills that you can use before the turn. And I'll use Musashi as an example. This is the unit that I chose, because when you start, they give you a free reroll. You can reroll as much as you want or as long as you want to get 1 SSR. And this is the SSR that I chose, along with other units that supported them. So I'll keep it as brief as I possibly can, just to give some information, just to give you a general idea of what's going on. But just to get in a little bit into team building, since we're here, what you basically want to do for your reroll, just to get the best start, is out of the 6, because there are there 6? Yeah, no, there's 5, because there's Musashi, there's Lancelot, there's what is her name? Asclepius. There's another light debuffer. I do not remember her name. And then there's Hippocrates, who is a water healer. Asclepius is a healer as well. So you have 2 healers, you have 2 damage dealers, and then you have a debuffer. Lancelot and Musashi are physical attackers. The light debuffer is a special attacker. And then Asclepius is a recovery unit, and so is Hippocrates. Hippocrates is water. Musashi, obviously, here is fire. Lancelot is earth. The light debuffer, which I can't remember her name, obviously she is light. Asclepius is wood. Those are the 4 elements. So there's fire, there's earth, there's wood, and then there's water. And then there's light and dark, of course. So there's 6 that you have to choose from. Obviously, fire beats wood, wood beats water, water beats earth, and earth beats fire, I believe. No. Water beats fire, fire beats wood, wood beats water, and then water beats earth. I believe that's how it works. They have the tree. I'm just at a loss here for whatever reason. But back to team building. Essentially, what you want to do is set up a unit that you want to build around, like a Musashi or a Lancelot, and then get units that complement them or protect them. So that's essentially what I went for in my re-roll, so I didn't have to worry about pulling any other units in a regular gacha, which I did not get anything from. So it's another reason in which you essentially want to make sure that you're getting as much as you can in that free multi. And from what I've seen, I got the SSR, the 3-star, I'll just call it. You guaranteed the 1 3-star, and I believe I got 4 other 2-stars, and I essentially went off of that, and I'll get into those other units and classes as well, because there are different classes. So there's physical attacker and there's a special attacker as far as the damage variants. And then there's different classes as well on top of the elements. So there's an attacking class, there's a defending class, there's a debuffing class, there's a buffing class, and there's a recovery class. And I'll be sure to go over all of those. But here, essentially, I picked Musashi mainly because it's really up to you, whichever one you pick. You can just build around them, and they're gonna, put in work so long as you have a supporting class. And there's like other variants that you can be on the lookout for that's also pretty good as far as like combinations. But here I chose Musashi, and the reason being is because she's basically a stat stick. She's just a massive stat stick, which is generally good early on and good for a while. And the only way that it's ever not good is if they immediately get power crept, which really doesn't happen all that often. But this is the closed beta test, so when going into this, there's a very good chance that a banner could drop. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on what the developers decide to do for the game. But generally, you don't get power crept that much. If you're wondering like what's a safer pick, I would say Lancelot is a safer pick, just because Lancelot does get damage, and then on her skill she ignores damage. Her crash skill ignores damage, whereas Musashi's is just a massive amount of damage. So personally, I chose Musashi just because I like her design and I like her character. But Lancelot was like a really close pick for me, especially because of the fact that there were a lot, and I mean a lot of really good combinations that I got with Lancelot. But I ultimately decided, no, I wanted to pick Musashi because, I mean, that design is just amazing. But yeah, she does a ton of damage here. Before you even do that damage, what you can do, so your first skill is going to absorb her panels. Whatever color her panels are, that's what will be absorbed. So what you want to do is get this second active skill available, which is your grade 2. And then grade 4 is just, you know, icing on the cake. It's, you know, by the time you get that, you'll be looking at, you know, other game modes and whatnot. But here she converts 5 panels except her own into her panels, and then she decreases her physical defense by 5%, but she also gives you 3 seconds of additional operation time to get more combos off, which is essentially, you know, you'll see it when we get to it. And then she's giving herself some flat stats to make up for that. 5% debuff. It's not really going to matter. You're not really going to be looking at that, because in the time that you're activating this, you're likely finishing off the enemy, or Masashi is protected anyway, so it's not going to matter. She's getting all this. She's getting this attack here. When she is, you know, and the passive is basically what you want to like also look at. You want to consider all of the skills when you're building around a particular unit to make a team around them. So she has to be the only attacking ally, which is fine for me. I've seen some people run Lancelot and Masashi, which is like, that's, I suppose, but you're missing out on, you know, damage for her, so that's not really the best. It is a bit unfortunate that Masashi is, you know, restricted in this way with her passive, but the damage itself, it's pretty darn good. It's really good, so I'm not really concerned with that. So you use the second skill first, and then you use the first skill, because she'll absorb all those panels. So for each panel she absorbs, she increases her attack by 309. And you would think, oh, that's, you know, these flat stats, how are they going to scale if you don't have any percentages? Well, what ends up happening is you get memories that give you percentages, so it ends up working out. So here is one of the units that I got in the free gacha that you re-roll. I decided on Antoinette because she helps out Masashi quite nicely. Here, these 2 skills was just mainly for her. It's not really, there's no units that support burning damage right now, so these are kind of just her own stuff. I wouldn't say that it's dead on arrival, because there's plenty of time and plenty of units that'll come out that, you know, will complement her as far as the burning, the damage over time. But what she essentially does is she will boost the physical attack for the units and the, you know, physical defense if they're of the fire element. So you want to use her on like a mono fire if possible, which my team essentially is. It's mainly fire type except for my defender, which is earth element. But she's a buffer. She is the buffing type. And also her passive, when you have 2 fire allies, she boosts fire type allies physical defense by 364. So it's pretty good. Here's another attacker. This is the attacker that I have. It's she's basically the element that she's strong against. She's going to do massive damage, and she's going to help fire elements do that. But here's the defender, Perseus, who I have, and she's a really good tank. I believe she's the best tank. There's no other like prominent tanks. There is, what's her name? It's the pink hair girl. She's pretty good, but Perseus is going to be handling like basically all of your defending needs as far as like what the game has available for units. So on her crash, she gives herself a boost in special defense, and whatever ally has the lowest special defense also gets the boost as well. So that's pretty good. Her active skill, her first one, gives herself taunt, and then she gets a barrier that blocks a good amount of damage for 3 turns in an arena that, you know, 3 turns is quite a long time. So it takes care of itself. And also, one thing you have to keep in mind as well is the turn cooldown. And so it's on a 4-turn cooldown. So basically, you would be 1 turn without the barrier, provided it lasts all 3. So that's actually massive. Not just that, there for, you know, the debuffing class, which will happen. There will be people who use the debuffing class. She can remove both all the defensive debuffs on her, and then also boost her special defense. So any special attacker, she's basically just gonna like cauterize like crazy, which is like really good. And she also boosts her special defense. So that's the, you know, the defensive type. There's another buffing type. Here's a debuffing type. So debuffers, they have special types of debuffs. Some are different. This one in particular has this virus damage, which I haven't played around too much, but what essentially happens is, and again, like the passive. So like, you really want to be looking at the passive just to see what it is that's going on and sort of build around accordingly, because especially with Hannibal's really good because of the fact that like you can build like a virus type team, which is like it's pretty. I'm sure it'll end up, you know, getting filled out and be really good. But the fact that she has a percentage on it makes it pretty valuable. I have to play around with that to see what ends up going on. And that's just the regular unit that you end up starting out with. Did I miss any? Recovery unit. Okay, yeah. So this is the healer that you start off with. And here's her crash ability. So they have some pretty interesting stats, but with all that being said and pretty much covered, we can head on over to the memories. So this is the memory that's available right now for the closed beta test. I actually got it, so I can show it off here. This is the one that I have on my Mizashi. And the skill will automatically activate in battle. So the skill itself is boosting physical damage, and when you have it equipped on an attack type, it boosts it further by an additional 12%. And when the battle starts in the second turn, your crit damage is increased by 11.7%. And here, as you level it up, these percentages will increase, as well as when you limit break as well, it'll, you know, increase even further. So this is basically where you're going to be multiplying your flat stats and making them matter a lot. So make sure you're looking at the descriptions of memories, because they do matter. Like this one in particular, you know, but you got to look out for whatever the special condition is. For this one, it's buff type. So physical attack, this is for physical attackers. Is another thing to keep in mind. And then here, this one is pretty much for like, this is basically for like, it's supposed to be like for a tank, but this one is interesting for sure. This one you can pretty much like throw on anybody. It's just a reduction of damage for debuff types, and then you also get some lifesteal on this thing. So it's pretty good. But yeah, those are basically memories. You go here to, these are your enhancing materials here. This is what it looks like. they're fragments. If you ever want to level it up, just go here and do so, and then, you know, there you go. As far as limit breaking, it doesn't seem to, at least from what I've seen, there's not been the option to do so. So it's likely something that you either get the option to do so when you fully max out the level, or it's just not available. And I don't have enough materials to like actually check that out. Yeah, I'm short, so I wouldn't be able to see, at least for that one. But yeah, here you go to your party. You'll originally have the 4, and then the 5th one and the 6th slot will be unlocked later. Memories will be unlocked later as well. First chapter. You basically just play through the game and all that stuff gets unlocked. So. Here I'm going to, here's the exchange shop, which I pretty much already cleared out. I also cleared out all the gold. I bought gold just because it's not easy to come by, and it's just a lot easier to use quartz to boost up the gold count, and you need it to upgrade your skills and your memories and everything else. So gold is a commodity. You want to save quartz, like you also want to do summons and stuff, but if you're not going to be spending when this game releases, it's better for you to simply just save quartz that you can use to both refresh your credits and also your stamina. So make sure you're doing that. Here's the underground where you can exchange your metals for Anima. And here is the arena, which you can do the same thing for. So that's also, you know, pretty good. They have materials in there as well if you ever needed it, which I don't. So, and here you can see that it's pretty much the same as Princess Connect in the exchange, where the first 20 is equivalent to 1, and then it goes up to 2, then 3, then 4, and then 5. So I'm pretty sure I would not have enough for that. And it's just a lot easier to boost up the other characters that you have, because it only takes about 30 for them. So I would say you probably prioritize that the same way you would in Princess Connect. And that pretty much covers that. The shop, you get free quartz here because of it might be closed beta tested exclusive. They might put that into the game. Hopefully they do put it into the game. Right here is where the newbie missions would be. Here's the regular missions, and there's the daily missions, which I've essentially done everything except for the resource. Just no reason in particular. I pretty much cleared just about everything there is to clear, except for some of the hard mode, which I will do soon before reset. And if you were ever wondering, like, where do I check to see where what time reset is, it's 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever that is for you guys. You basically, you know, Google whatever your time zone is and, you know, set it accordingly. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the underground depth. So the first one was actually pretty lengthy. I was not as strong as I currently am now when I originally entered, so it should be a pretty substantial difference. We'll go ahead and see. But yeah, the story is great. I enjoyed the story. Going through the story is pretty nice. And if the story is something that you would all like to see, I would be more than happy to go through and show it to you all. So yeah, here's one thing that I did. So as you can see here, the buffs, all the buffs and stuff have transferred over from the last fight. And I also used the skill just to check and make sure that it wasn't like a reset. Like, because if the skills reset after each attempt, I would essentially go ahead and just like burn everything immediately and then do it that way. So here's basically the combat system. And when you go through the story, this gauge won't be here initially, but it will as you progress. So what I'm going to do is pop this. We'll just settle for that there. So you can see all of the the attacks here. I had it sped up initially because I was farming. But yeah, the combat system is really nice. It's really fluent. It's very enjoyable. We don't have a healer, so we do have to be careful about the damage that we take. Yamazaki has a really dope animation. We had about 50 minutes until reset, so I'll show this one off in regular speed, and then after this I'm gonna speed it up, so you have to forgive me for that. It takes some getting used to. You do need to, like, one thing you do need to make sure you consider, don't really get, you want to get into the habit of making sure that you match the panels up properly instead of just going as fast as you can. And they'll mention that in the tutorial when you first start the game, not to do that, because it'll just close itself out on its own. So yeah, see, it closed out sooner because of the fact that I was attempting to rush. But the way that it's set up, will be good going into the next turn. I would also say that you don't really need to be too sparing with your abilities. Mainly because by the time you finish, they're tanky enough to where, like, you can pretty much, like, by the time the next fight starts, you'll have your abilities back up. So okay, this is really good. It's a good turn to do this. So we get additional operating time to absorb all those panels. We essentially got a full board. And then let's also fire. And this is sort of why you want, you know, mono teams. Mono teams make it pretty enjoyable. So skip. I just have to pop it. Just want to speed this up here simply because of the time. Also, when you increase the speed here, it doesn't affect the it doesn't affect the timer for this, so you don't need to worry about that. There you go. You're gonna do a lot of damage. That. That. And let's finish them off. There you go. There's a certain level of conservative precautionary action that needs to be taken sometimes, not all the time. You can see, you know, HP is getting worn down a bit, but by the time we get into this one, Masashi's ability should be back up. So again, you don't really need to be, yeah, it's 2 seconds. We have wood units here, so I'm gonna use her abilities. Also pop this. Here, I don't think we need to do anything else. Again. Here we mitigate the damage simply because we ended up having that ability, which is pretty nice. We'll just set up with that, because we get set up for the next fight. And here I'm just gonna pop everything. It's pretty standard, man. Underground is pretty standard. I'm not sure how far it goes. It says it's zone 1, so there's more than one zone, I imagine. Or it might just be this one zone. Zone 1 might be referring to when you initially start, it just chooses it for you. And then this being the, you know, the easy zone, and then normal is a step above this. Okay. Let's start off doing damage. Start attack. That'd be debuff, dude. Let me check. Alright, let's convert these channels. I'm about to eviscerate this boss here. All right. There we go. Yeah. That boss had zero chance. We were just underestimated. It's, you know, pretty simple. There are no wood units, but we'll just pop it. Okay. I'm not sure if I'll go into normal mode just yet, just based on the damage that I'm doing here. Might not be in my best interest to do so. There you go. Big damage. Pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much the combat system. It's pretty nice. It's pretty satisfying. I enjoy it. And there you have it. There is Zone 1. Which is pretty cool. I enjoyed that. And here we have Arena, which we're also going to go ahead and hop into. Arena is just like what I would say that you do in playing Arena, because you do control it. It's not auto. If you have a character like Masashi, what I would recommend that you do is pop her abilities first. Pop her abilities first. So there's no room for error. There's like absolutely zero room for error there. Is there any wood units? Yeah, there is. Asclepius with this combination just doesn't... She will get absolutely destroyed. There's nothing that she can do against, as like this team is Asclepius killer. You're better off going for Hippocrates. Though I'm not mad at this person's, like, I'm not mad at their setup. It's just they're gonna have a rough time. Essentially, they're gonna have a real rough time. Yep. They're gonna have a real rough time. There's not a whole lot they can do about it either. I'll screw that up a bit. But she's gone. We also had enough left over to just completely body the buffer. So what ends up happening is the units don't immediately die. This is where Antoinette is like amazing, because of the fact that she has the burn. It essentially like completely null and voids their ability to like do anything. So it's actually pretty nice. Let's see, what are we gonna do here? Let's do that. That. That was close. It's really important to get off Misashi's crash skill because it just does so much damage. I mean, it does a lot of damage, as you can see. Yep. There you go. Once I get warmed up, it's a different story with these abilities. When I get focused, it's a different, yeah, it's a different breed. It's a different breed there for sure. Yeah, Koji right there. Koji is really good. Koji's like really good. As far as buffers go, Koji's nuts. I really like that Koji. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything that's available in the game right now. Closed beta testing. It's pretty darn good, man. It is pretty good. I've essentially flushed out the majority of the game, except for, well, you know, what's available. The only thing left is hard mode, which, you know. Here, I'll show off, I have to use some crystals here. I'll show off the hard mode, and I'll essentially end it there. But all in all, it's a really nice game. It's done incredibly well. I really have no complaints. So I just set it to auto. This is basically what happens when you set it to auto. And setting it to auto, if you're not really good with the panel clearing, they'll essentially do their best. The AI will. And it can be good. I would recommend that you just take the time out to like actually learn the you know, the combat system and, you know, work that out yourself. Because the payout is like significantly better. Like you can see here, like it's not exactly the worst by any stretch of the means. It does the job pretty well. But they do miss out on some combos at times. It's why I would personally recommend that you do this. And if you're not going to do so, if you have a unit like Misashi, I would recommend that you at least pop the skill in a proper order, because they're going to do it anyway, so you might as well set it up for yourself so you get the maximum benefit for it. As far as what I've seen in the units that I've used, Misashi's one of the only few who has this issue, who suffers from that. Everyone else is pretty much like auto-friendly for the most part. There's not too many that are not auto-friendly. Here as well, this is the, you know, the bond system. So far, what you get from it is the in-game currency. That's pretty much it. And here I'll show off the skip system. So you pop this. You don't need any tickets. It's simply just, if you have the stamina for it, it works. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything. If you're wondering how you change the characters, this is how you do it. It's asking for, like, you know, it says you can change the background too, but we don't have any backgrounds available, so that's pretty much it. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything. I've pretty much already done summons. I'm going to save these Quartz, which I know it seems pretty silly because there's not much use for it outside of summoning for the closed beta. But I'm going to continue using this for refreshes with my stamina and for the gold count because I want to play with other units that I have. Because I have other units that I haven't went into. I also want to see how strong the regular team is. So you can see here, these are the units that I don't have. This is Hippocrates right here. Really good unit. I think Hippocrates is the best healer support in the game. And it's because she removes the defense debuffs for a particular ally, which could be your tank, and then you can also boost their defenses, which is huge. She also has a pretty massive heal, and then she also converts one panel into her skill panel, which is this crash here, and then she reduces damage taken as well. When you have 2 water allies and a light ally, she also boosts status resistances, which is pretty good. Here you have Asclepius, who again isn't, she's definitely not bad. It's just like she is like specifically hard countered by anyone who's running Masashi and Antoinette. She kind of just gets dumpstered like really hard, but her heals are insane. As you can see, like she is the best. Like if you're just going for purely heals, she is the best healer in the game. I would say like overall utility, Hippocrates takes the cake for sure. But if you're just going for if you just strictly need heals, Asclepius is the one for you. As far as the 3 stars are considered. One that you should not sleep on is Nightingale. She's really good. She removes all status buffs on the target, so that's like that alone is like really good. And she has a pretty beefy heal as well. You can target this one, and then you remove all status buffs again on an enemy. So she's good at stripping. Nightingale's really good because of this. And then she also gives whatever unit a boost in their defenses, whichever one has the lowest. And when she is the only recovery type, she can decrease the special attack of of any other recovery types on the opponent's team by she makes them useless. Nightingale is one of those, along with Koji here, who is just insane. Because not only is Koji doing some like pretty good damage, she's also boosting her attack and the attack of the highest physical attacker besides herself by a substantial amount. Not just that, she's also giving an additional second of operation time, which is pretty nice. And she's also buffing again, so she's just giving massive buff. And this is sort of where Nightingale is like a commodity, I would say. If you get Nightingale and you have like a really good team on top of that, yeah, you're gonna be pretty good. Nightingale's like really good in PvP and whatever specific events or units that might come out that specialize in like buffing or whatever. And then you have 2 water allies with the physical attack of the whole team by that amount, which is nice, but it's not necessary. And she also can absorb 9 panels and give herself a pretty big boost. So she's like Masashi, but more focused on buffing than herself. So it's not as good. The absorption is not really good if you don't have like panel converters, which is why like Masashi actually works out pretty well. Yeah, Amadeus. I always forget her name. So she just does massive damage. And then she is the only unit from what I have seen that has this binding ability, which basically is CC and also decreases special defense. So honestly, a really disgusting team. Before I get out of here, and she also has the absorption thing. And there's a wood enemy, so like a really disgusting team, right? A really disgusting team would consist of Amadeus, this Salieri. The Salieri boosts special. She boosts special types. She also has bind, so she's like a baby Amadeus. But Cleopatra here is the reason why. she's really good. She's really good. And then you basically just run those. You run Cleopatra, you run Amadeus, you run this Salieri, and then like Nightingale or this Perseus. So you could run like Perseus, Cleopatra, Salieri, Amadeus, or Perseus, Cleopatra, Amadeus in this this Nightingale here. Which I would say I'd probably run the Nightingale. That's a really disgusting team. It's really gross. Lancelot's just good. That's basically it. It's like she ignores defense, which is like, it's basically a counter to this Perseus here, this tank. So she can get through that. She boosts her own attack, and then she, you know, gives debuff Slayer. You have 3 Earth allies. She can boost, you know, her physical attack, which, you know, it's always nice. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything there is to cover. This is a bit of a lengthy video, so I'll have some timestamps and all that good stuff. But with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And when this game comes out, be sure to check it out, because it's a pretty nice game from what they've shown thus far. Of you know, of course they can't show everything. there'll be a lot more in the game, and of course there'll be a few things that are subject to change. So, you know, what you see here might not be what you see in, you know, the actual release of the game. So, you know, do keep that in mind when looking at these features, or if you are playing the game yourself, if you were able to get into closed beta testing at any point, you know, just keep these things in mind. And there's one thing that I did notice as a bug, which, you know, I'll likely go ahead and let them know about it. So essentially, if you go to use the skip feature and then you go like spam pressing the button, let me see if I can show it off. Yeah, let's just pop in here. So I'll just do 3 here. Right. Okay, it didn't pop up there. I'm not sure what it is. It's kind of weird. But every now and again, from what I saw, I'm not sure how I duplicate it, but it would essentially make you go back to the title screen because like something went awry. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else in the game is like great. It works perfectly fine. I enjoy it. So yeah, let me know what you all think in the comments below, and thank you to the developers for choosing me to play this closed beta test. I appreciate it. It's a great game. It's actually very enjoyable, which, you know, I'm honest. I'm very much honest. I did read, you know, all the stuff and where it's saying, you know, don't defame the game or anything like that. But honestly, don't have anything bad to say. It's just nothing. Obviously, you don't want anybody, you know, talking bad about your game before it even comes out, because, you know, stuff can change. Which is why I was saying, you know, take everything with a grain of salt. But the game's legitimately good. I actually enjoy like everything. Everything was pleasant. It was pretty smooth. The only thing I will say, because again, I am honest, in the beginning, there was just like so much going on in the first couple of minutes. It could definitely deter people from like checking out the game, depending on how they feel, just because it's like there's a whole lot that's happening, but with not too much explanation in the beginning. It makes all the sense in the world later on. I'm not sure how they would be able to like flush that out to have it make more sense in the beginning without like taking away from like, you know, the actual story progression in the game. Because like even the character themselves is being, you know, left in the dark with some of the stuff. But just the overall detail and, you know, the world itself, the verse itself, the metaverse that you're entering, which is, you know, Alice verse. It was all pretty enjoyable overall. Like that's pretty much like my only qualm is just that very beginning, the first couple of minutes. It's like, okay, this is a bit much, but it's not like it completely takes away from the game. So it's just a minor gripe. It's just the most minor of minor gripes, if there are any gripes, which honestly there's not really too much, like, you know, unless there's like some bugs, which I haven't really encountered, except for, you know, the one where, you know, the game will just sporadically crash when you're, you know, doing the skip feature. I wish I remember exactly which stage it was, because it was in chapter 3 if I'm not mistaken, or it might have been like later in chapter 2. I'll need to go back and, you know, check when I have more refreshes, which will be like in 20 minutes. But yeah, I'll end with that. Thank you all so much again for tuning in to watch this. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next video.